So here's what we're talking through today. Some of the new features, I'll breeze through this quickly. First, we're going to talk about processing multiple files with Visdom. We're going to talk about a few enhancements we have to the online doc editor, a few permission enhancements, a few survey enhancements. We'll discuss briefly our new out-of-the-box integration with Sign Now. And lastly, we'll talk about some updated icons. Just a note on that last one, I didn't dedicate a slide to the updated icons, but you will see some of them as they go through the trainings, and I'll point them out as we go. I'll just give a blanket statement there. There are going to be more like system UI updates with the next release or two. This one kind of has the first wave of that, if you would. So you'll see a lot of icons updated in my system in the screenshots and in yours, and more will come later on. Okay. So let's get started. First, Visdom. Now, I'm going to do most of the stuff in my slides. I'm not a huge fan of doing trainings and slides. I prefer to do it in my system, but we're bouncing all around the system in this training, so I stuck to the slides just to make things easy to follow. Dragging and dropping a document into Visdom. As typical, you can upload one or more files if you would like to, and it will, as always, run the extraction process. Before, when you uploaded multiple files, it would take the first file and the rest of them it would add to the file queue, which is like right below the drag and drop box. But now it will ask you which one you'd like to prioritize and process first, right? So you can see I uploaded a document, ABC consulting agreement, and this other consulting agreement, and I pick one basically, choose my contract type, and then continue. And now I'm not exhibiting it during these slides, presuming that you know how Visdom works. But from there, it's going to take the ABC consulting agreement, run its Visdom, do its Visdom thing, extract the data, you add the contract. Once you're done with the first priority contract, it's going to give you a little pop-up at the end and ask you if you'd like to process the next one, right? So you do the same thing. You kind of repeat for all of the documents that were in the queue. So you do the first one, and then you kind of repeat with the ones that were held in the virtual queue. For those repetitions, the documents that were held in the queue, it's going to give you three options. First option, if you'd like to create a new contract. So the first document that went through could create a new contract. The second one could also create a new contract. Okay. Option number two, if the first document created a new contract, the second document could simply be an attachment to the first contract, right? It could just be an attachment that you add to the first contract, right? And the third option is simply cancel that operation. The second document will not be processed. If you want to cancel it for some reason, there's an option for that. Okay. That's the new option, right? It's going to prompt you to choose the priority in which the documents are processed and queue the rest of them and add them, and you can process them afterwards. Let's move on forward to the online document editor. There's a few new nice features here. Let me first note that these new features are consistent regardless of where you are in the system. You could be in an employee record or a contract or a request, and these features work the same as long as they're on the files and attachments subtable. And with that in mind, this also works with .collab e-approvals. So just for context, an e-approval process or negotiation process you could, release externally. When you receive that email and log into that, secure portal, you go in and modify the document. There's an online doc editor there. As you might remember, it was added like the last version. These features we're talking about here are consistent with that online negotiation portal as well. Okay. So in Files and Attachments, you click the Edit Document button, and now you have this new disclosure pop-up. Utilizing the online document editor tool may result in changes in formatting or style. Obvious enough, but it's a disclosure, right? So just kind of click Continue and move through it. And here there's two really nice major changes. First, our comments. How many people asked me about, can we add comments in the online document editor? Yes, we can. Now we can. So when you're modifying a document, you are able to add comments, and most of the features you'd expect from an online word processor in terms of comments are here. Add comments, previous, next, edit comments, highlight text, etc. Okay, so you can add comments wherever you'd like. Next, we've added a config setting that is defaulted to true. That basically means when you come in to edit a document, red lines, track changes are set to on. Right? So when you begin modifying a document, the red lines are already there. Before, you had to go turn them on manually. You had to go to like proofing and then turn on your track changes every time. So now we added this feature where it's going to be on by default. Okay, red lines are going to be on whenever you come here. Like I said, there is a config setting for it. So if you want to turn that feature off, you could, but it's definitely best practice to keep it on. Right, you come in here, the red lines are on by default. Certainly you could accept those changes, etc., but at least you don't have to go to proofing and turn them on, which is a really nice enhancement. One final note here is that if you download this to Word, these changes, the track changes and the comments are consistent, and they'll download to Microsoft Word perfectly. I checked it and it looks great. Okay. So that's that. Those are our enhancements for the online doc editor. Works wherever you have files and attachments, and it works in the e-approval process. Next, we have a few security group enhancements. Again, managed setup down to managed security groups. The first of which is we can now rename security groups. Before, if you added a new security group to the system or one of them came out of the box, and you wanted to change the name of it later on, sorry, you couldn't do it. But now we can, which is really nice. One of those light little enhancements that I think is a real nice quality of life improvement. So if you ever want to rename a security group, you can. Next, we added a new permission for standard users. Employees edit my employee record. This was a permission that was available for super users and admin users, but now the permission is extended to your standard users as well. So now if a standard user wants to come in and update their own address information or contact info or upload something to the files and attachments table or something for review, they can do that, right? Provided you don't have to assign the permission, right? Next, two quick survey enhancements. Number one, on my, you go to your, I don't have a file path here. Go to manage setup, down to surveys and questionnaires. In your survey list and in your questions bank, we have a few new record info fields entered by, date created, updated by, and date updated. And as with any like record info, when you add a new contract or a new record, all of this stuff is generated by the system and you can't modify it, right? It's automatically generated for audit log information. And again, this is both on the survey list and the questions bank, right? So that is now added. That was one of those things where you're like, why isn't this here? But now it's there, which is really nice. And next, now we can, when you assign a survey to your users, okay, or to your clients, we can manage the survey, and now we can add and remove people. Before, we were only able to add people to the survey, employees and clients, but now you can also remove them, assuming that they have not already started the survey. So if you have not started the survey, you can remove the respondents. I mean, hopefully you don't make this mistake to begin with. But before, if you made the mistake, sorry, there's nothing you could do about it, right? You made the mistake. But now if you make the mistake, we could fix it. Right, so it's a more forgiving mistake. We could just remove those people that we accidentally assigned. Okay, so it's again, if you assign a survey, you can remove the people that you assigned, assuming they have not already started the survey. Okay, clear enough? Any questions about this?
Tyler, I'll just add that same thing goes with bulk surveys. There's an ability to remove respondents from bulk surveys as well.
Okay. And Lastly, we now have an out-of-the-box integration with Sign Now, another e-signature platform. So if you're on the Files and Attachments table, you click on a document or the red toolbox, click e-sign document. And now among IntelliSign, DocuSign, and Adobe Sign, we now offer Sign Now. It works functionally like the same as DocuSign or Adobe Sign, where you have to have a license with that signature provider. And we need to have like plugin during setup, plug in like the API keys and like your Sign Now credentials. And then the interface works perfectly well in CobbleStone, just like DocuSign or Adobe Sign do. Only other thing here on this page is that this Sign Now button, as you know, it allows you to sign a document with IntelliSign if you have the .collab module to eliminate confusion between Sign Now and then this Sign Now. We're changing the name of this button. It's going to be called IntelliSign Now if it fits, or Sign This. Right? And that's, again, that button's only if you have IntelliSign. It's completely separate from this tool, which is through a third-party provider.